Good morning. In the last week, we discussed about verbal communication, how to speak, how to converse with people. Today, I'm entering into another domain of a very strong soft skill requirement, that is negotiations. In fact, we had been waiting for this since long. Negotiations, which can always happen or only happen if there are two parties. You cannot negotiate with yourself, though philosophers say yes, sometimes we do internally negotiate with ourselves, but in fact we require another party. So our today's topic is negotiations. What is this negotiation about? How do we really get a negotiation? When we are interacting, means different parties are interacting, minimum two and multiple as many as required. We do it for some gain. The gain would be maybe one-sided gain, maybe both-sided gain, or some benefits. And then it may be created for offering some services. That means you want to offer a service which you have and you want to get paid for it or you want to get rewarded for it, then you negotiate. Or maybe sometime resolving the deadlocks. That means there are some confusions, there are some contradictions, both parties have different agenda, different domain, different objective, and now it requires a negotiation to come to a common agreement. So negotiations in fact is a terminology which centers around a function or operations which is existing all throughout your lifespan. Every time you will find that you are negotiating somehow or the other. Only thing is what happens is we are not really we are not aware that it's being negotiated. Whether it's in your office, whether it's in your home, whether in a vehicle, public vehicle, or while working together with somebody, when you are going to go for a trading, when you're going to go for business, whatever it is, whether it's a diplomatic discussions, negotiations will always remain a part. Now, what to negotiate about? If we are really negotiating every day throughout our life at every phase, then what to negotiate about? The first set that comes is the possession. That means we want to negotiate with somebody when we want to possess something. That means we want to possess an object, a product, which is possessed at this moment by somebody else. I want to take it, and if I really have to take it, there has to be some interactions. This interaction, the process of interaction altogether, is a negotiation. In that interactive process, it may so happen that when you are negotiating, that you say, you have this, please give it to me, I'll give you my blessings. What have you really exchanged? You possess the item, you offered a blessings, and the person is happy with it, and then ultimately he gives you that particular item. So the thing is, we really don't know whether every time the negotiation leads to an exchange of money. We are not very sure, and in fact not every time the money becomes a centerpiece of our negotiations. No. Okay. Or for gain, we want to gain something. That means we want to gain a privilege, we want to gain a property, we want to gain a value of something, we want to gain knowledge. So there are many things which, whatever comes in your mind thinking that this is gainful, then you must consider that now you have to negotiate. How do you negotiate? Just let me give a small piece of example here. Gaining. You want to gain knowledge. You have multiple books. You use the books. The moment you need the books for gaining knowledge, you have to pay a price for the book. That means that is what you have negotiated for. If the book is of precious kind and very rare commodity, not available really, then you are ready to pay a little higher price. In fact, you are not paying the price for that book, you are paying the price for that knowledge which is there in the book, which you want to use it. This is how you have to look at it. That means during negotiation, your perspective has to be very, very, very clear. Not that it's not a simple formula that okay, for this kind of activity, this negotiation. No, it's not a formula. Every time this can keep on changing. based on the context and the situation and the parties who are playing with it. It can be price. You give me this, I pay you so much. That means this payment, as soon as you exchange in terms of money, then it's a price. So you negotiate for price. You may negotiate for trading. That means you are saying that, okay, I give you this object, in return you give me this object. Historically, if you look at it, when this money or exchange items, a piece of paper or coins, when that was developed, before that, the trading was there all through. Trading was there, which was called the bartering. That means you have one commodity and another person has another commodity. Both the commodities are not similar, and both of you require the other's commodity. So what you do is you make an exchange, that you give me so much of this, I give you so much of my items. This is what is bartering, which had been historically, since evolution, a kind of exchange. But every time, everybody, the pair, they always try to measure that how much of this commodity is equivalent to how much of that commodity, which then both of them agree to. That means when you are negotiating, I've used a term called agree to. That means there is something called agreement. The negotiation is that discussion or interaction in multiple phases between multiple people when this leads to an agreement. That means both the parties are now agreeing to follow the path which mutually they are agreeing. That means it is being negotiated. One can negotiate for privilege. The privilege which somebody is likely to get, or he covets the privilege. So one can always negotiate for privilege. And while negotiating for privilege means basically asking for the privilege and against which he has to give back something, maybe, or at least qualifying certain criteria. So whatever it is, basically the privilege one can ask for. It can be for peace. See, this is very interesting. The entire world is now looking for peace. There are peace treaties which are going on. There are negotiations going on between two countries to work out the peace. What is that peace about? Both the countries are coming to a common agreement, a list of items written down in agreements and ultimately being exchanged through shake hands. Is this, that okay, we trade these items across these countries. We do allow physical movement between two countries, the people's movement. One country is promising the other country that will not harm you, will not disturb you, will not wage war against you, and such things. Mutually it goes on. Finally, what will be the result is the peace. That means all the positives that they are looking for now, till this peace will be valid till the agreement is valid. Once this agreement is now broken or else breached, then this particular peace will be disturbed. Okay, and very interestingly, the relationships. You won't believe it, the relationships, in fact, every day we are negotiating somehow or the other for a very simple thing called relationship. The spouses are negotiating with each other for relationship. The husband is negotiating with the wife for relationship. Same is wife is negotiating with the husband for relationship. The child to father, child to mother, teacher to student, worker to worker, boss to the employee. So every time the relationship that's being built through negotiations, not every time we show that we are negotiating. A simple gesture of love, simple gesture of happiness, simple gesture of agreement, simple discarding of disagreement, basically all these are nothing but negotiating. These negotiations are being done through some actions. Okay, so here basically when the negotiation will start, at which point it will start, we really cannot predict unless it is something called business. In business, what happens is the negotiation is very structured and we work it out that we are going to negotiate. But for other things like possession, you don't know. Suddenly today in the newspaper, I found in the real estate page that okay, there is a property which is available of this particular price. I like the location of the property and also some brief description of the property. Immediately I call the agent, and then the agent gets connected with the owner, and then now it's a multi-party negotiation going on. I will talk to the agent will talk to the owner. Now owner may connect to me also, and then we work out what should be the price. He will be asking for whatever he wishes. I'll be asking for something which is going to be lesser. Okay, agent is going to work in between to negotiate. Finally, it comes to an agreement, and then that person is going to hand over the registered document to me because I have paid him the money. So the thing is, the whole possession thing, when it starts, it's very unpredictable. Only for business, I can tell you, it's a very, very predictable one, because there we make a definite move of it. So it's possession, the gain with its price, trading. Even trade, I would say, to a certain extent works almost in the same line of the business. Okay, for the privilege, you don't know that today you got a call that some services are going to give you certain privilege because you have complied with certain criteria, and then you are going to have it. So this is how the whole thing starts. And whenever you get a call for the privilege, immediately you try to know more and more, in which you negotiate that could you get a little better privilege, could you get something more which they are now depriving you. The whole process will keep on going. So the negotiation is that kind of activity where your soft skill plays a very, very vital role. Who negotiates then? If we know that there will be always a negotiation emerging out of nowhere, then who are really negotiating? You will find there are certain standard groups who will be almost negotiating day by day or day to day. Say buyer and customer. You want to buy something, you want, buyer, buyer or customer. The person who wants to buy something, a customer who wants to own something for his possessions, for his gain. Okay, so buyer or customer. Then comes seller or dealer, the person who is going to sell you that particular product which you want to buy. That means he is also a party in the negotiation, because you are going to buy from that particular seller. Now, the seller who is going to sell it for profit or simple sale of that particular object, to get rid of it from his stock. Then comes the producer or manufacturer. Basic objective of their negotiation is how to sell it, how to sell the product which they have manufactured, like car manufacturer, any automobile manufacturer, the furniture manufacturer, even the manufacturing of steel, metals, materials, anything, or textiles. Everybody is trying to sell it off, and when they are going to sell it off, they will work out a price, and then they will work out a process. They'll go through a process of negotiation in which they can, they'll just clear the stocks by reaching it to the end users. The client, whom we can consider as a receiver, the client who is going to give you a job and he is receiving the service from you, and the professional who is a provider. So professional is going to give services to the client which is going to be received by the client. So this professional is a provider. Then diplomats, they are another group who negotiates every day almost, for trading, for import or export. So diplomats are trading, they are negotiating at the diplomatic level. And this is very, very true. The political situations in the whole world in such a manner that the diplomats are working every day. Then comes enemies. Enemies also will work. They will also negotiate for peace. Two groups who are fighting against each other, coming to a point when they know that there is no point fighting anymore, or maybe one group has won over the other. That means now they are leading to a position when they say that we stop the war, we cease the war, and that is for peace. So the enemies also negotiate. There are very interesting stories of these enemies negotiating, or a possession-oriented negotiation. And typical one is the client, professionals, producer, manufacturer, buyer, seller. Very typical. Okay, but the diplomatic negotiations, enemy-oriented or say war negotiations, they are very, very interesting thing, which I cannot go into the detail through this lecture, because this is a very brief introduction to the whole process. Maybe in some other series only on negotiation, if I offer, I will give more details on this. Associate or partner. What this association or partner would do is basically for collaboration. Their objective is to collaborate. So they are negotiating on this. Office boss. How do you negotiate, or how office boss is negotiating? In fact, whenever the boss is trying to recruit new recruits, new employees, they are negotiating. They are negotiating about the responsibility, they're negotiating about the salaries. And the same boss is negotiating with the working employees for salary hike or salary raise. So the thing is, every time the boss is thinking that how much I have to give. So the basic idea is, we have to understand in this manner. Boss knows that why he is negotiating. The reason is this: the boss knows that if he is committing a higher salary, that will go from his own earning, from his own pocket. And now, sometime you must have found that the trade unions are negotiating with the management for higher bonus rates or higher privileges, annual incentives. Because the thing is, everybody, the trade union leaders, they work it out for the benefit of the unions, or say workers union, is this, that they have given their love and labor, which has resulted into higher manufacturing of the products, production of the products, and also based on the market demands, that particular product got sold, and this particular company, the management group, they have earned more profit. And if they have earned this more profit, then it's better that we go for negotiation, that we give us a share of that profit. That is how the whole thing works. Okay. In the process, what happens is, you then would know that who are basically negotiating. How about the relations? I said already, the spouse, the children, and other relatives, they are negotiating with you. You would see very interesting thing. See, whoever is negotiating for whatever purpose, it's always for something to gain. So negotiation is always for gaining, be it a customer gaining, be it a seller gaining. What the seller gains, he sells a product because he has already purchased the product himself, and now he is selling the product and he is trying to take the profit out of it. So his gain is the profit. What the customer is doing or the buyer is doing, he doesn't possess that particular item, he parts with his sum of his saving and ultimately gets that particular product. So finally he is gaining that product. What the producer manufacturing is gaining, they are producing it for business, and for that business is that they will produce more, they will sell more, and they will earn the profit out of it again. The client, what he is doing is, client is taking a service of somebody which he cannot do it himself. So if he is taking a service of somebody, he is getting his job done without his own time or knowledge investment. So that's his gain. What's a professional is gaining? He is knowledgeable, he is technically competent, he is offering his service to the client, and in return he gets the reward or the money, and that money is equivalent to whatever he has learned, whatever he has worked on, his domain or responsibilities, plus some extra as overhead. So he is gaining. Whatever he has learned, he is getting paid for it. What the diplomats are doing, diplomats are working out trade mechanisms. They are working out how to import items from outside for the benefit of the country, and how to export our own products to the other countries, so that the foreign currency comes into our booty. So there's a gain. And what the enemies are doing, that they are fighting and losing their own people of the country. They are fighting for years and years and years. They are losing their money, they are losing their manpower, they are losing their quality of life. So they are looking for peace. So basically what they gained is the peace. And associate or partner, what they are doing is they are collaborating, because one partner may be a weak partner, another partner is a strong partner. Weak partner wants to take the benefit of the strong partner, collaborate in this particular project, and ultimately get some share of the profit or the rewards or the returns from that. It's a gain. And then office boss, what he is doing is, when he is deciding about the salary of a person, when he is selecting him, recruiting him, at that point of time he is looking in a different perspective. He is ready to part with that salary which is his own, and that he is ready to part with that salary with the person who is going to join, because he is going to take his service. It's just like professional client relationship converted into an organizational relationship. Professional client relationship is always independent and short-lived, and the office relationship or the boss and the employee relationship is a long drawn, and it is very, very intimate. Okay, so the boss is gaining. What the person who is getting employed, what he is doing, he is negotiating for a salary. He is trying to get more salary than what he maybe deserve. So sometimes we say that when you are looking for a job, dear friends, I am talking to the young minds. If you are going for a job first time after your college, always try to measure that how much you deserve and then expect. most often, most of the people are very much suffering from the psychological stress because they are expecting more than what they deserve. At the same time, this deserving and expectations also should be commensurated with what you can offer. That means, how do you know how much you deserve? Depending on how much you know, how much you can offer, how much you can provide. Based on that, you should be expecting your salary. Whenever your salary expectation is sky high and you think that you deserve so much, but actually your knowledge is lesser and the amount of deliverables are going to be weaker, then there's a big gap between the expectation and what you should be really getting. And that brings stress amongst most of the young professionals in current situations. Okay, relationships in which what you do, you gain love from your spouses, from your children, from your other friends, from your other relatives. So everywhere we are negotiating for at least one word I can say is gain, gain, gain and gain everywhere. Okay, then why negotiate? There should be some circumstances which forces us for negotiation. We negotiate always at some circumstances. An example let me give you. Suppose you have gone to a textile shop and you want to buy a fabric, or you went to a kind of garment shops and you have seen one particular garment and now you'll be asking for the price of it. The moment you have asked for the price of it, the person says this is the price at which he is ready to part with it. If you say okay, it's fine, negotiation doesn't start. So circumstance does not give birth of negotiation at that point, because one demand has been placed from your side for that particular item, and a demand in exchange in terms of money value has been placed by the seller to you, and both of you instantly agreed on this, that okay, the buyer, as a buyer you are saying fine, I think if it is 5,000 rupees I am accepting it, okay, I think it's fine. The moment you say that, negotiation does not arise. So negotiation arises instantly when there is a difference in the offer and the agreed rates. Mind it, negotiation will always start when there is a difference. Without difference, no negotiation will happen. If somebody loves you unconditionally, you don't have to negotiate. If somebody teaches you unconditionally as a teacher, then you are not negotiating about how much you have to pay back. If client says, how much is your fees? You say, this is so much percentage of the whole cost of the project. Client says, fine, no negotiation. So the negotiation must arise when there's a difference. So here, today's scenario is, everybody thinks that everybody is charging higher than what it deserves. It is because of which the negotiation is almost becoming evident in every sphere today. Because earlier, what used to happen is people were having simple life, simple living, simple expectations, low expectations, and they wanted to live happily, peacefully. So they never bothered about the negotiations much. Whatever came in front of them, if they liked it, they accepted it. Whatever they have requested for, they have been requested for, if they want to part with it, they did it. So the negotiation was not a point in the earlier days. In today's scenario, every time, at every point, you are negotiating. Okay, so it's personal. Circumstances are something like, I'm giving a list of what kind of circumstances at which there'll be negotiation. Personal, salary, relations, instructions. Salary, I have told you, the boss and the employee. Relationships, I've told you about the spouses and the children and the relatives. What about instructions? Very interesting example I can give you. You go to a family, you find a 5-year-old kid who is demanding it to play, and the father or the mother is expecting that the child should now study. That means at this point of time, child should study, child doesn't want to study, child wants to play. Then an instruction comes. The mother promises, if you study now, then I'll allow you to see that particular cartoon movie in the TV after 1 hour. Child accepts it and sits for quietly, he gets into the studies for 1 hour, and then immediately after 1 hour springs up and says, now it is time for me seeing the movie. The thing is, this is negotiation by instruction. This is a negotiation. Here, the mother negotiated with the child in exchange of what? A time sharing. And the child negotiated, of course, he played in this, in which child agreed, yes, I would like to now then study. After 1 hour, I'm going to go for a movie. And then this situation, what happens is, you'll see in my example, the child springs up just after 1 hour. That means he knows the time frame up to which this agreement is valid. That is that agreement, 1 hour. After 1 hour, he'll not spend a single moment. He'll simply go to the TV, in front of the TV, sit there and see the cartoon movie. And mother also cannot say anything in this, because she also agreed, negotiated with that 1 hour time. So she cannot say study for a half an hour more, then only will be going for it, because these are breach. All right. So the personal for salary, relations and instructions, and product for buying, selling or procurement. For professional services, it's receiver provider. For general services, it's a user provider. That means it is either there has to be a receiver and there has to be a provider. So professional services, in that somebody has to receive and somebody has to provide. In general services, somebody will be the user and there will be some provider. Business negotiation, basically my whole discussion is for business negotiation, but however I am clarifying all these points for one reason, that we must have a very clear conception of negotiation. It should not be vitiated by the idea called business negotiation. Even the relationship amongst the husband and wife is a kind of business. Both of them have their own domain of activity, domain of time, domain of privacy, there is a domain of space, yet they are together. So there is a business. And in fact, you will see that if the husband starts impinging into, or say encroaching into the domain of the wife, then the wife's business gets disturbed or jeopardized. Similar is the true that if suppose the wife starts interfering in the works of the husband, then there is an encroachment. So in such cases, what will happen is, you will find that the negotiation is most important. Everybody, in fact, what we do is, in our life, we almost negotiate it very smoothly without knowing that we have negotiated. It's almost like time sharing. The husband says, I'll go for this. Wife says, I'll go for these. Negotiated. There may be some situations where people are arguing against each other to come to a common agreement, but most often any couple who has decided to live together the rest of the life, you will find that they will always decide, okay, you do this part and I do this part, and we run a family together. That's also a business. But what I'm talking about, the business here is basically the business in terms of trading and other professional services. So in business negotiation, it's collaborations. Ek minute. Correction korte hobe. So for business negotiation, it's collaboration, merger or acquisitions. In such cases, you will find there will be a strong need for the negotiation. Then comes sharing. Sharing of what? Sharing of tasks, responsibilities or gains. It's like in an office. I'll give an example. In an office, there is a task which is to be done, and the boss calls all the workers who are going to work on this particular project. And then the boss decides that this person is going to be the leader of this particular team, and the other person, they will set a hierarchy. The leader, the next rung of leader, then the next groups. Okay. As soon as it comes, immediately the leader will go into the mode of a negotiation. He will not do it in public. First, he will say that he'll be ready to share the responsibility. He says, okay, fine, I'm very happy and I'm also privileged. I'm honored that you are giving me this responsibility of leading this particular project team. He does it. So what happens is, now afterwards, if you really watch, the same leader, when he starts the work and does it successfully, then he goes to the boss again saying, see, the other team members and me, we are getting the same salary. But look at the responsibility that I am sharing. I am sharing more responsibility of this particular project. In such cases, I demand or I request or I deserve a higher pay raise. This is the negotiation. It just got negotiated. And that is, while sharing the responsibilities, people do negotiate. Even sometime, if you are overloaded, this happens very frequently in our offices. If you are working in the offices, you will see this. Students, you will not understand this now. But office colleagues will understand this. 3 persons working and in which you will find one of the persons is working very hard for long. The other person is doing fairly a good duty. The other person is really not working or putting in more labor, or even the deserving labor. The point is, in such cases, the task is being, since it's a final result of three of them together, then the boss thinks that the group has done it, but actually the time sharing or the labor sharing or even the involvement sharing had been unequal. In such cases, naturally, there will be a negotiation. The person who did work the least, he will try to prove that he has worked the most. And if the person who has worked the most, he should have the courage and also the intention of going to the boss and saying that I did work the most, so I must get a raise. So this kind of negotiation will keep on going. So always there is for gain. And then treaty. In treaty, it's peace, trade, alliance, diplomatic. I said already about it. So why negotiate? You negotiate for personal reasons. You negotiate for products procurement. You negotiate for professional services to be offered, and or general services like maintenance and other things. And you negotiate for business. You negotiate for sharing the responsibilities and negotiate for treaty. And everywhere you will find that there will be situations where, since it's a negotiation with at least two parties, then one would be giving, another person is a receiving one. So here we have the different reasons for negotiation. So what I'll do is, now I'll discuss about a point. That means these things will lead to a certain set of purposes of negotiation. So I will discuss about the purpose of negotiation in my next lecture. Thank you.